Hey guys, Moneyman300 back for some more Project Cars here, and this time I'm going to be going over the different settings that are available, and primarily what I want to give you is the setup I'm using for the controller, which so far, and I've tried several from the forums that people have posted and tried my own, and so far this has been the best one. And this was actually posted on the forum, and let me give you the name so you get that credit out there. XXBen XX posted this, and it actually felt pretty good. I was pretty close to it already, just a little bit different on the speed sensitivity and the controller filtering sensitivity. Hey, look at that little opening video going on there. Yeah, I'm running this, and it feels good. So at least it's playable. So if you don't already know, there is an issue with the Xbox One controller. Playing with the controller in that the responses aren't right. Trying to steer out of a turn, it gets stuck in lock every once in a while, and it's super twitchy at slow speeds, or if you adjust it at that, it won't turn at all at high speeds. So there is a patch that's done. It's up for testing from Slightly Mad. So in the next couple of days, there should be a patch out that will help with the controller. In the meantime, there's a bunch of posted. You got to find one that works for you. It could be different for everybody. I'm going to give you what I'm using and the car that I'm using it on, because it could even be, this may work for certain cars but not others. I'm running the RUF the RGT8 GT3 car, and this setup works good for me. I mean, relatively good. It's not as smooth as Forza, but it's at least manageable, right? You can manage around the track. I was able to drive. I'm able to complete laps, run a clean lap, do all of those things. Not great, and you saw that in my first solo video, but at least I was able to race and I was able to enjoy the game. So first off, let's talk about how you get there. There's two ways you can get there. Number one, this is your main screen. If you hit the right bumper, you come over here, there's options and help. Number two, you can hit your menu button and go to options and help. So either way, and then you're going to come in here, and we're going to go into controls first. I'm going to cover some of these others as well in this video, but I want to go over the controls first so that you guys have that. So, Xbox One wireless controller, you can see that. Hey, there's my gearing. God, I've been looking for this. That's awesome, but I have not been finding that. But I had it set to manual once, but I must have screwed it up and did that. So I'm going to change that back to manual, inverted gearing, invert camera. Okay, we'll come back to that. Anyway, you go over right, so it comes up to the control screen, right bumper over to configuration. So this is the configuration that I got. This is what's worked best for me so far. Thank you, XXBen XX. I appreciate it, because this has helped me out. So steering dead zone 0. So this is the big one. You got it. This is what makes it twitchy, but at the same time makes it drivable. You just have to, right? You might be able to bump it up. You might try bumping it up a little and play around with it if it's just way too twitchy. But I find if you bump this up, you can't turn at high speed. So steering dead zone 0, steering sensitivity 0. You know what sucks is they don't. You know what would be nice in this huge open space in the middle over here? They would actually tell you what each one of these does. Some of them are, dead zones. That's pretty self-explanatory. I like having inside and outside dead zones, which they don't have. They just have a dead zone. So I don't know if that's the inside dead zone, the outside, or if it applies to both. What I mean by inside and outside, an inside dead zone is when you don't have your thumb on the controller, how much play you have side to side. The outside dead zone is how far from the fully locked position, how much dead zone you get there. But I'm just going to assume that it applies to both. In any case, we're at 0. Our steering sensitivity also at 0. The throttle, and I'd love to give you a better explanation of each one of these. I just don't have one yet. When I do, when I can dig all that information up, I'll try to get that to you guys, so you know exactly what each one of these. But just know that these work pretty well. Throttle dead zone at 0 and throttle sensitivity at 50. I did have these at like 0 and 0, and it was significantly more difficult, and I was spinning out a lot more. Bumping this up to 50 really helped. Brake dead zone at 0, brake sensitivity at 50. This brake sensitivity, you could probably change. The higher the brake sensitivity is, the less you'll have to pull the trigger down. So it's almost like the brake pressure setting. So you can either adjust that here or adjust it in brake pressure. I have it at 50. I'm probably going to bump this up a little bit more because I don't like to have to pull the trigger very far to get good braking. So you might be better off at, you know, if you're a guy that runs high brake pressure on Forza, you're going to want this higher. If you run really low brake pressure, you might want this a little lower. So it's kind of a personal one. Clutch dead zone at 0 and clutch sensitivity, which is the default, at 45. Not going to make a whole lot of difference depending on your setup potentially. Speed sensitivity. This is how sensitive it is based on speed. 75. Controller filtering sensitivity. Not quite sure what that is yet, but that is at 50. Force feedback at 100. So I've heard also a tip, and you guys want to test this, that it's even better if you set this at 0. So you could try that. I don't know. That has to do with the. I'm gonna assume that force feedback on this has to do with the sensitivity they get to the triggers. But I don't know that for a fact. So, and control. Oh, I should have said this first. Before you set any of these, go down and change the controller input mode to 3. Maybe I'll put an annotation up there so you guys are going to change it all, and then because this changes everything. Right? These input modes, it does different things. There are different things that these input modes do that are settings behind the scenes that you can't change. For me, I think most people have landed on, from what I've seen, input mode 3 seems to give you the best chance to have a good setup. So you got to change this first because it actually changes all these settings too. So you change all that. I would love if I had an option to like save this setup, but you don't. So controller input mode 3 first, then go up here and set all these. They should put that at the top, actually. It would have made this a lot easier. And advanced, make sure you have your advanced to off. You don't want the advanced options in there. It's these things here. I don't know that, from what I've heard, that actually makes it worse. So go through, try these settings, see how you do. You may have to adjust a little bit, but for now, this has been the best. Now, once a patch comes out, we may have to come back and reset some of these things. So that is the control scheme that I'm using that seems to work the best. We'll pop over here to configuration. There's configuration, and then there's, yeah. Oh, no, that was config. So we had control scheme. Right? And this is where you can change your automatic clutch from yes to no. I'm going to use automatic clutch at yes right now. I'll probably play around with that for now, but gearing it manual. So we'll do that. Here's our config. Edit our assignments. This is where you can individually assign anything you want in here. Now, once you get in here, you go left bumper or left trigger and right trigger to kind of go between each of these. I did make a couple of adjustments out here. So, like, I changed curves to D-pad left because it was on, and I had to change my gear up and gear down to be, you know, to the normal B and X because it was on something else. There isn't like a control scheme. Like you can just say, hey, I want, you know, I want to select a scheme, right? There isn't one, which is interesting. Like I want to do different ones. You have to go in here and manually change these. So I changed my gear shift up and down to B and X. I changed my clutch to A. I changed my handbrake to left bumper. I probably should have done that to right bumper. I don't use the handbrake much anyway, just to try to get something I was familiar with. So you're going to want to come in here, especially if you're going to use the clutch and you're used to having it on A. Now you might, by default, I believe the shift up, shift down is on the it's on the bumpers, right bumper and left bumper. So I changed it to B and X because that's what I'm familiar with. You can, but I do like the fact that you can map these to pretty much anything you want. I mean, you could change your seat up, back, forward. I mean, you can see all the stuff you can do here, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here. Brake assistance. You could turn analog brakes, traction control. You could turn all those things on, it looks like, even, right? If you want to turn assistance on, that's pretty cool. Let's say you're running a manual clutch, you want to change it. You could assign a button or something on the D-pad. I think the D-pad stuff would be nice. Turn my headlights. Right now, you can see D-pad up and down. D-pad left, I don't think I have anything assigned. D-pad right is to cycle my lap info. So there's a lot of things you can do. Problem is there aren't really enough keys to do all this on the keypad. So, you know, it might be kind of nice to turn traction control on and off. Let's say it starts raining in the middle of a race and you want to kick that traction control in when you have it off. You know, that might be kind of cool to be able to turn that on. You'll have to sacrifice something else. Like you may have to sacrifice the KERS or, you know, or your cycle lap info off of the D-pad to change that, or sacrifice something else. But just know that you've got full ability to change everything, so you can go in there and do it. There are mandatory assignments. I don't know what they are. right? Because it took me a little while. It's like I didn't have something assigned that was a manual, and it wouldn't even let me save it. It says, oh, you have to have all manual assignments assigned, but it wouldn't tell me what the manual assignments are. So just be aware of that as well. So that is our control scheme, our configuration, all of those types of settings. Another area of settings I want to talk about a little bit is our visuals. You can change a lot of things. There's this video calibration, but yeah, right. I just hit done there. I don't really even know how to change all that, so it looked good to me. I haven't had to change that. But if you want to turn some of the glare and the flare, I have everything default right now, right? Lens flare, sun, exterior, all the sun is on. Heat haze is actually off by default. I did not change anything. Your exposure compensation. Global specular irradiance is on. Your guess is as good as mine as to what that actually is. Raindrops, your vignette. Crepuscular rays. I think that's that the sun rays. I got some fancy words in this game though. Screen dirt. So I have all this as default, but you can change this, right? Some people bump some of these off and turn them off for performance reasons, but I have not done that. Cameras. So this is kind of cool. You can change your FOV, so your field of view, up and down. I have not messed with this yet. If I find something that's better than, you know, out of the box, I'll let you guys know. Rear passenger camera. You can sit in the back seat. I don't even know what that is, but you can change your camera. So if like, especially in the chase view, I find the chase to be a little bit close, and if I want to be further away, I can actually bump this up, right? You can start moving it back, and it's not obviously a percentage scale. It's just a number. Maybe it is a percentage scale, and you can go 100% or whatever. But I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to mess around with the chase camera to try to get that a little better. Right now, I'm driving in-car. But even if you are in-car and you want to be back a little bit further, you think you might be a little bit close, it's kind of like moving your seat back, right? So you can do all of those things, which is pretty cool in here. You can change your different views. I really like that you're able to do that. So you can change that. Movement. So there's a lot of different things, again, and I'm not sure what they all do yet. So a lot of things in here you can do. I'm right now just leaving it at default, and if we come to a point in time where I think some of these might be different. I don't have the high-speed shake turned on, but you can really get, obviously, as you can see here, pretty deep into this. So that's that area. Let's go to the next one. That was our, so we talked about visuals, right? Talked about the sometimes when you hit the B button to save, you can see in the bottom right hand corner, it just like hangs out here. So we're gonna sit here while it hangs out, especially if you go in and back. I found if you go in and then back out real quick like I just did, that it seems to confuse it and it kind of hangs out there. So we'll hang out. But anyway, we'll just talk a little bit in general about the game. It is a little difficult to drive out of the box. I would suggest picking a series and a car and sticking with it for now, and really learning how to drive that particular car in that particular series. I think that switching around to a lot of different cars, like you know you have a tendency to do in Forza, is going to be very difficult, especially out of the box in this game with some of the controller issues that we've got. I'm going to be testing out the wheel, so I've got the Ferrari 458 Spider wheel. Going to be hooking that up here in a little bit and testing that out and kind of give you guys a little bit of a review on how that wheel works with the game. I also have the Thrustmaster TX 458 Italia wheel, there it just went, coming as well. So I'll give you guys a review of that, and I'm probably going to be using that wheel with the force feedback, although from reading the forums it sounds like there's some force feedback issues with the Xbox also, but hopefully that gets patched pretty quickly. The last section here is just audio, standard stuff, right? Different maxes you can play with based on your don't do it again. You almost have to sit in here for a little bit or you just get stuck. But anyway, that's really all of the settings that I wanted to cover in this video, and I mainly wanted to give you guys that control scheme, so hopefully it can help those of you that are really struggling to be able to play it a little bit better. So anyways, I'm going to wrap it up with that. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Later.